Next, probably the biggest one that I skipped from this season, Link Click. This is a Chinese production that's about time loops and time travel, I believe. I think this was before I started like really giving the Chinese productions just as much a chance as as anime. And also, I'm not big on time travel stuff, like, at all. You gotta really work for it for me to like it, because it's one of my few tropes where I'm just like, I don't care for this much. But we'll see if it lives up to the hype, because I know a lot of people really like this show. So let's check it out. Well, I gave it a good old college try, but boy, that was fucking frustrating to watch. I got a little bit into the second episode of Link Click, and aside from two things, there's really, well, no, three things. There's really nothing wrong with this show. I really like the premise of it, of doing time travel by looking into photos and stuff, or however that works. That's a cool premise. And the character designs are pretty solid. Animation can be a little jerky sometimes, but not overly so. It's got a pretty strong color palette to it that's really nice to look at. However, I find whoever the black-haired guy is to be immensely fucking frustrating to watch. Like, it's so... He's annoying in a way that I wasn't expecting. It was like, not to say that this is what you should do, but the standard thing for this scenario would be like him going into the past to grab like the data that he needs to find or whatever, but he like just fucks up on accident and stuff and has to fix it somehow. But what he does is like just sort of either stand there stunned and confused, or just obstinately refuses to do a thing that his dispatch guy is telling him that he needs to do. Like, he'll just stand there for, like, seconds on end. Like, he'll just stand there for, like, 10 fucking seconds doing nothing, instead of just doing the thing that the guy tells him to do. Even when it's, like, the simplest thing, like in the second episode, like, he's like, get the door to receive the ingredients. If you don't, the past is going to change and it's going to fuck everything up. So, and like, he just stands there staring at some mysterious powder that some lady has. He's not going to be able to do anything with the powder. He doesn't have the list of the recipes that it is. So why not just get the fucking door? Like, what's wrong with you, man? That's my biggest frustration with this and sometimes it's warranted, like when he jumps into the body of this woman who's being sexually assaulted by her boss. Valid to not want to do that. But like other times, it's just so weird how out of place it feels. Like he looks like someone who just time jumped into someone's body but isn't like trying to pretend that he isn't. Like, he's kind of a fucking idiot, and it's very frustrating. Which sucks because he's also the emotional core of this. Like, he's the one who gets like who starts to like synchronize with the emotions of the people whose bodies he jumps into. And like that part's pretty good. But boy, the actual like plot is so frustrating. And also just the dialogue delivery feels very weird sometimes, and like very jagged and stilted. It's very weird. And there was this one moment in the first episode where the music was just way too overpowering. Like, just way too much. Normally, like, yeah, go bold with music choices, but in this instance, it really bothered me because it just overpowered everything else. Uh, and it was more so like the specific type of music, not necessarily the volume. Uh, yeah, I don't vibe with this one. Like, it's just very frustrating. Alright, link click, unfortunately coming off the list. Next, Blue Reflection Ray. I think this is another one that's like an adaptation of video game or something. Never heard of it, but let's give it a shot. Oh, no. This looks like poop. It is bad. Character designs are pretty terrible. The proportions are just like slightly off in a lot of areas, and it just makes them not pleasing to look at. The color palette is not great, and also the editing is bad. Like, there are several really bad cuts, like transitions and stuff, shot transitions. Some kind of magical girl thing, I don't know, but boy, it's not good. Like, I don't have anything else to say. It's just bad looking. Okay, we're just gonna get this out of the way. Blue Reflection Ray off the list. Last one as catch up for the summer, Tomorrow's Leaves, which is a Studio Ponoc short film. I believe that's the studio that did Mary and the Witch's Flower, which is also a film that I have to watch at some point. But not today. We're going to watch a short film that I know nothing about other than the studio. Let's give it a go. Okay, that was a fun little short. No dialogue whatsoever, but it didn't really need it. It's just a short little fantasy short as promotion for the Olympics, actually. This was to promote the 2020 Olympics, which, if you'll recall, ended up getting delayed till 2021 because of COVID. And it's a solid time. Not a whole lot to say about it. It's only 8 minutes long, but most of it is with the visuals. At first I was like, how is this going to relate? How is this weird fantasy thing about a bunch of kids saving an island from, or I guess rejuvenating life on an island, going to relate to the Olympics? But they managed to fit it in, like the different ways that they are racing towards the center of this island, the way that they visually incorporate a bunch of the different Olympic games was pretty fun. Like, they had the running, the hurdles, the pole vault, rock climbing, swimming, just a whole. And then near the end of it, they have more of the ball-centric sports like volleyball, basketball, and soccer, shot put. So I guess I saw the vision, and it's a fun vision. Again, this is Studio Ponoc. So these are, I believe Studio Ponoc is a Ghibli offshoot, or not offshoot, but spin-off with some ex-Ghibli people in it. And you can definitely see that in the character designs and the general vibe of it. But it's also definitely not Ghibli in a lot of ways. It's a bit more cartoony, a lot more free-flowing with its animation. Occasionally to the point where there's a little bit of wonkiness sometimes, but not too often. The backgrounds are a bit more watercolor-esque. Wasn't a big fan of the very painterly CG in the opening. but it's certainly better than a lot of the other CG I've seen so far in this series. Or from the past anime that I've watched, I should say. Yeah, that's really all I have to say. If you want to just see a fun little piece of animation with a decently strung together narrative with some cool Olympics references in it, this is precisely the thing that you are looking for. It's only 8-ish minutes long, so it's not going to take up a lot of your time. That's really it. It's good. Okay. Tomorrow's Leaves is complete. We're going to put you just above Girlfriend in the number 61 spot. Man, that's a lot of anime. With a decent 6. That was a fun little time. Okay. And that's it for the summer season. I believe that's the only one from the summer that I've finished. Well, from the forgotten stuff. Obviously, I finished a lot of other stuff from the summer. But we're down to one more season from 2021 with 6 anime. We got I think 3 series and 3 movies. So let's jump into it with The Summer. This is a Korean animated series, I believe, actually. It's a series of web shorts, I believe, and I think it might be Yuri. I'm not sure. But we're about to find out. All right. Hidden Gem it is. Just finished up The Summer. I'm going to butcher all of the Korean in this because I simply do not know how to pronounce it, but I'm going to try anyway. The Korean title is Gyeong Young, something along those lines. And the main characters, we got Suya. That's how it sounded like they were pronouncing it in the show. And Gyeongya, I think, is the other girl, the girl with the glasses. So I'm going to go with those pronunciations. I know I have at least one Korean follower in the comments who will tell me if I'm pronouncing these right or not. So anyway, this is a series of web shorts, only 7 10-minute episodes, or 10-minute-ish episodes, and about yearning and Yuri. This is a lesbian romance. Is it technically Yuri if it's Korean? I guess it's not. Yuri is just the Japanese word for. That's an interesting question. I'm gonna call it Yuri. I'm gonna call it Yuri because that's what I'm. Because it's one syllable shorter than lesbian, and that's the only reason. And I'm getting sidetracked. Yeah, this is a short web series about 2 girls who meet in high school, fall in love, and grow up. And I'm gonna say right now, again, spoiler warning, because I guarantee most of the people watching this have not seen it. I think there's only one person who could be watching this who has seen it. This also had like a movie compilation version, which I think more people saw, but I assume it's essentially the same content. But yes, so spoiler warning. But this is a movie about 2 girls who meet, fall in love, and eventually just sort of drift apart due to how they grow and the circumstances of how they grow. And it's full of yearning, it's very bittersweet, but not overly dramatic or nasty or mean or anything like that. It's just very low-key melodrama, not even melodrama, it's just very low-key drama about the pains of falling in love with someone the difficulties of managing a relationship and eventually realizing that the relationship just isn't working out for one reason or another. Not because one of the people is bad or just mean or any outside interference or anything like that. It's just I think we don't see a whole lot of these, well, we don't see a whole lot of relationships in anime, period, but we don't see a lot of things where it's just like, yeah, we just sort of grew apart, sort of. And it's like, it's set up pretty early on that would be a reason for them to grow apart, because Suya is sort of a person who just doesn't really talk about herself and is just like, she likes talking about other people, talking to other people and learning about other people, but she sort of bottles herself up, and that causes Gyonya to just to drift away from her, because she doesn't feel like she can fully understand Suya, and that starts a rift in their relationship that gradually causes them to grow apart. But even in the lead up to that, like, the early stages of their relationship are extremely cute and fun, full of youthful yearning. I did like that there is a underlying, like, sub theme to this of, like, what do you call it? Appearances, and, like, putting on appearances for other people, and how people relate to that concept. Because, like, Gyonya was born with, like, brown hair and brown eyes, which is not the quote-unquote standard Korean trait. And that led to her being sort of bullied and discriminated against by people around her, even, like, the adults. Like, the adults are, like, there's a lot of just very casual, blatant racism in this. Or not even racism, just, like, discrimination of, like, you don't look like us. They literally call her, like, dog eyes because she's got brown eyes. I'm assuming that's, like, a common derogatory term in Korean. And, like, even there's this part in episode 2 where she dyes her hair black to, like, try and fit in better. And some dude's like, "Oh, you dyed your hair. You still got those brown eyes, though," or something along those lines. Like, and it's like, oh, it does not matter what you do. People, if you are different, people will find a way to single out your differences and, like, make that known to you. And, like, that's not really, like, the main plot, the main theme of this series, but it is, like, an important theme to it, because it's also sort of crucial to Gyonya's character, because she is someone who is very focused on appearances. Perhaps because of that, or maybe that's just naturally how she is. Column A, column B. And so that leads her to put a certain amount of importance on those things, whereas Suya doesn't really think about that at all. And so, like, she shows up to meet Gyonya's friends at one point, and she just is in, like, these real super casual clothes. She's, like, dirty from work and stuff, whereas everyone else is, like, very dressed very nicely, or just dressed very well, I should say. And that makes Gyonya way more insecure than it does Suya. And so that's another like rift in the relationship there. And it's the fascinating little details like that that give these characters like so much depth. And so it makes it all the more like bittersweet when they drift apart, but still end up. At least we see Youngya as just sort of gradually accepting that phase of her life is over and that she has more life ahead of her. We don't really see any more of Suya after the breakup, which is, I guess, a little disappointing, but not entirely necessary. This is much more of a Youngya's story than Suya's. We don't really get a lot of Suya's internal monologue, where most of the internal monologue is Youngya. So, yeah, that works. Yeah, this was just a fun little series, and looked pretty nice too. Occasionally there was some jank to the animation, like the way stuff moves around a little bit, and sometimes the compositing wasn't perfect, but for something of this caliber, it looks pretty damn good. Like for a series of web shorts, this looks pretty damn good. The color design overall is really nice. It's got these very warm browns and pinks and oranges and reds and such, and a little bit of blues thrown in there as well. The character designs are really solid. They're a little flat, but they work for what they're doing. Soundtrack's very like low key. It's just sort of very calm, but also very like melancholic most of the time to match the sort of yearning feeling. A lot of the more sensual shots, it's very well shot and very enticing. You really get the sense of the intimacy that these two characters share with each other. Yeah, this was really good. I'm glad that I dug back into the archives to make sure I didn't miss anything, and so that I could find this. I definitely want to check out the director's other two works so far. Like, one of them's from like 2015, and one of them just came out last year apparently. So that one might not even have subs for it. I'll have to check to see, but it's rated decently high. Yeah, I would definitely recommend this. It got that good Yuri yearning in it. That's the good shit. All right. The summer is complete. And we're going to put you, where did I decide? Right above Reslime Season 2 in the number 32 spot with a strong 7. I think that's the highest scoring thing that I've skipped so far this season. So yeah, definitely happy I came back to check on that one. Okay. Down to 5 left. Next is Scarlet Nexus, which I believe is another adaptation of a video game. Never heard of it. Never seen anyone talk about it. But we ball. Oh my fucking god, I don't care. You're so boring. It's so boring. Oh my god, it's so boring. This one of the fucking most generic ass sci-fi action anime you could possibly fucking do. Main characters enrolled at an academy to beat the evil monsters. Check. Monsters have some stupid fucking name. Check. I don't care. There's nothing here. There's nothing. Props for having the monsters be like animated in 2D and not be CG monstrosities, but And they do have interesting designs, but that's about it. The action's pretty weak. Character designs are super fucking generic. It is boring. It's so boring. I'm so fucking boring. Why? How do you make something this boring? How do you get, like, halfway through the first episode and just have no intrigue whatsoever? Christ, man. Okay, fuck off. Scarlet Nexus, gone. Next, Muv-Luv Alternative. Now, I remember the reason why I didn't try this one out, because this is based on a very famous or slash infamous visual novel that's known for being very gory. And the reason I didn't try this one out was because I heard right away that you really need to know the visual novel to understand the anime. So I was just like, well, I'm just gonna check out of this then. But we're back here now, and we're gonna try it out anyway. Knowledge of visual novels be damned. You know, I was expecting this one to be just like kind of trashy and bad, but a little over halfway through the first episode, it's really just kind of boring. Like, I came to a realization while I was watching this. I was like, okay, I'm gonna get to like where the big action starts, or like the big battle starts, and then I'll see how the action scenes go, and that's it. And then I realized, I was like, wait, they've been firing guns for like 3 minutes now. The action already started. It's just that it's so ineffectual and poorly shot and not interesting at all that it didn't even register to me as action. But it's very clearly action. They're firing guns at aliens. That's action. It's just not... It's not framed as action, though. It's just framed as, like, sort of like the prelude to action? Does that make any sense? And then I realized, oh, that's something that I see in anime, like, all the fucking time, when there's, like, big fucking battlefields involving, like, artillery and stuff. That the artillery very often isn't framed like action. It's just framed as like not even a background thing, but just like a transitionary thing. It's weird. It's a weird thing to realize, that the action isn't really action, even though it is action. In any case, boy, these are some terrible CG models for the aliens. They are fucking bad. Bad. And the quote-unquote grunt ones, the designs are super generic and lame. The Fort class ones are kinda interesting looking. But it's still bad CG. And even when the mechs finally roll out and we start seeing mech action, that's also really poorly shot. There's like no hype behind it at all, even though the music is doing its fucking damnedest to be hype. It's just bad. I had some other complaint that I was gonna bring up, and I just completely forgot what it is. I don't know. I was gonna at least wait around to see like the gore, because I know that's the thing that Muv-Luv is known for. But I don't care. I just don't care. Character designs are super generic and basic. Color design's a little oversaturated, so it's not super great to look at. And the action's just really boring. Why is it boring? Okay, Muv-Luv Alternative, goodbye. Alright, down to 3 movies left. I'm pretty sure I'll finish at least 2 of them, but I'm unsure about this first one. Child of Kamiari Month. All I know is it's a fantasy series or movie. Never heard anyone talk about it ever. So let's see what this one's about. You know, maybe it's just because my ears are like really becoming attuned to it now, but lot of voice acting issues this season. Although this one in particular is something that I notice a lot with anime films, where the main character is someone who doesn't typically do anime voice acting, and then everyone around her sounds like a regular anime voice actor. And it makes her stand out. But in particular, this one stands out because it's for like a 6th grader. I clocked it immediately because like they weren't in uniform, so it's like, okay, so they're still in like elementary school. And she sounds like she's 30. Like, she sounds a good 15, 20 years older than all of the characters, maybe 10 years older than all of the characters that surround her. And it's just really throwing me off. Like, it does not sound good. I don't know why anime films do this. I really don't know why. Like, what is the logic other than some kind of backroom deal between casting agencies and stuff? I don't get it. Also, initially I was like slightly impressed by the animation because there was this really cool cut of her running in the beginning, like the way the background moved with her running looked pretty cool, but then the compositing issues started showing up, and then we got to the present day section of this after that brief flashback or whatever, and the color palette's not good. It's like really gray and drab, and it's just not pleasant to look at. Maybe that's the intent, but boy, it's something. It's real gray, and also not super well drawn. Lot of meltiness even in like still frames this early in the film. So I see some potential in the childhood trauma, probably dead mom storyline, and I did like the interactions between her and her mom in the opening scene. It was very fun, but like, boy, this film just don't look good. Okay, Child of Kamiari Month is off the list. Down to the last two, both of which I'll probably finish, but hey, who knows? First up is Kud Wafter, which is a Little Busters spin-off / alternate universe, alternate setting thing. I debated between swapping this one and the last Aria movie after the Crepuscolo was kind of disappointing, but I'm pretty sure I've already seen most of the content for Kud Wafter. This is the romance route for when you romance Kudo in the VN, and they already had her arc in the main TV series, which I just binged the 2 seasons of. I didn't get through EX because, boy, that first arc of it is really not great. But I watched enough of Little Busters to watch this. So let's see what they do with it. Alright, that wasn't exactly what I thought it would be, but it's all the better for it. Just finished up Kud Wafter, or Kudo Wafter, however you want to pronounce it. This adapts the Kudo route of the VN for Little Busters. I thought it was just going to be like a rehashing or a retelling of her arc from season 1 of the anime, of the main anime. But no, this is actually like it takes place in a theoretical after the school field trip where everything goes fine. Well, first of all, spoilers for everything, Little Busters, and spoilers for this thing. I keep saying spoilers like you don't know the fucking drill already, but... So, this takes place in a timeline where initially it's presented as, like, the field trip just went off normally. There was no bus crash or something. I think that's the implication. And it's just, it starts with Kudo already being in a relationship with Riki. Which is nice. I guess kind of... The implication is, like, you jump off of Kudo's route from Season 1 right into this? Although, actually, no, because this spoils the plot twist in Season 2 of the fact that there was the big bus crash, and everybody died except for Riki and Rin. So this is definitely for a after you finish everything series. But then it's revealed, like, in the back half of this thing, that this was Kudo being trapped in her own world of her own making. This is her in the hospital bed after Season 2, after Rin and Riki pull everybody out of the bus and save them, and she's comatose in the hospital waiting to wake up. So that's the timeline of all of this. And I'm surprised at how well it fits into what was already a very fragile narrative. I've posted my thoughts on Little Busters already on Twitter, so you can go find those if you want. But it's a good show. You should watch it if you're a big fan of Key stuff. Although you probably saw it already if you're a big fan of Key stuff. If you liked Clanad, you should watch it. If you liked Angel Beats, you should watch it. I still need to see Aaron Cannon. And I did not like Rewrite. I got like 2-ish episodes in, I think, when it first aired. Charlotte was Charlotte, and the day I became a god, I got like 2 episodes in, I think, and then dropped it. Oh, I forgot Prima Doll is a Key thing, too. That one was fine. It could have been good, but yeah. So that's my thoughts on Key. Generally, I am... anything Little Busters and earlier, I am a fan of Key. But again, I still need to try Aaron Cannon, but I feel like I'm going to be a fan of them. But anyway, this entry into Little Busters, it's got a lot of really cute stuff of Kudo and Riki being a couple, her hiding him in her dorm while the boys' dorm is under construction after a pipe burst. Very fun. All of their friends slowly finding out was a very good gag. While we're on the subject, it looks almost exactly like Little Busters used to. Like, not quite exactly, but they really did nail the aesthetic for it. Like, having just watched Refrain, like, I finished Refrain like a few days ago at the time of recording this. And it's like pretty close. It's pretty spot on. The compositing in this one is actually a little bit better. But also it doesn't move quite as much. Like Little Busters, the TV series, has a lot more spastic comedy animation. This one, not quite as much. So that's a little bit disappointing. But also we get to see multiple implied scenes of Riki and Kudo fucking. Was not expecting that. Like, you could just see those sheets rustling in like the corner of the screen. I'm like, whoa, what's going on over there? Caught me off guard, let me tell you. I will say though, if you're familiar with Little Busters, Kudo is the lolly of the group, and she is very lolly. So if that's not your particular flavor that you're interested in, might make you uncomfortable. I was fine with it. Again, not my particular persuasion, but I was fine with it. It doesn't get super explicit, aside from the charm drawing scene where they draw the charm on each other's bodies. But yeah, if you have any distaste for lolly whatsoever, you probably won't like this, because there's a lot of it. There's just a lot of the way she's framed, I guess I should say. Not a lot, but there's a substantial amount. Also, there's a lot of insert songs in this, and one of them is sung by Kudo's VA. I believe it's Naomi Wakabayashi, and there's no nice way to say it. It's not good. Like, her singing's really not good in it. The one she does at the very end in the end credits, it was a little better, but the one that was an insert song, not good. It's just not good. Also, apparently, this was crowdfunded. This was a crowdfunded special that raised like 60 million yen by the time that it was complete. And it also got delayed by like a year from its initial start date, which is why I was so confused looking at the different databases for this one, because like Live Chart says it was 2021, Mal says it was 2020. Then I had to go to the Annie. I think AniList has it in 2020, but for a different day in 2020. I had to go to Wikipedia to figure it out, and so like it was initially supposed to come out in 2020, but then it got pushed back to 2021. In any case, this might be the best looking crowdfunded anime I've seen. That's really not a high bar, especially compared to fucking Bean Bandit, which we talked about a little while ago in the first episode of this series. But yeah, crowdfunding successful. Yeah, if you really, really liked Kudo from Little Busters, you'll probably like this a lot. I like the way it uses her like insecurities about running away and just being a little bit of a failure, sort of, very effectively for the emotional pivot crux of the plot in the second half. It's well shot. Color design's really solid. It's good stuff. It was worth like going back and watching all of Little Busters just to get to this, because I liked Little Busters, and this is a nice little aperitif to end my Little Busters experience. It's good stuff.
All right, Kud Wafter is complete. We're gonna scroll up to right around here, just above Aria, actually, in the number 50 spot. And you get a light 7. Enjoyed that quite a bit. Just a nice little, I think I used the word wrong in the review. I meant digestif instead of aperitif. But nice little coda to your Little Busters experience. Alright. And that just leaves one anime left to catch up on from 2021, Aria the Benedizione, which I believe means the blessing. I already talked about my feelings about Crepuscolo and all the post-origination Aria. I'm willing to let it surprise me, but I don't have high expectations, I guess. In either case, let's jump into it.
Wow. Well, color me shocked again. That was a massive improvement over the first film. Aria the Benedizione. This, now, I probably should have known going into it that just by the nature of the content, I was going to like this one a lot more. This is a Aika centric story, Aika and Akira in particular, and like Akari was always like the tonal core of Aria overall, if that makes any sense. Her character best reflected the tonal and thematic elements of Aria, but Aika, at least for me, always had the most standout character moments. Probably because they're the most outright dramatic, I guess. She's a lot more. Her personality is a lot bigger than either Akari or Alice. She's much more forthright in expressing opinions, and also is much more just has a lot more on her plate, so to say, and doesn't see herself quite as measuring up to everyone around her. And so it leads to a lot of instances of her just kind of having meltdowns, which never really felt out of place in the original series, despite the more subtle tone of it all. Maybe it's because it was such a nice contrast to everything that it stood out so much in a good way. But I think just of the characters that I like, if I had to say like which episodes of Aria I liked seeing in which characters I liked seeing get focused on, like Aika is right up there with Akari, maybe even higher. She might be my favorite of the three looking back on it now. So I should have known with this being an Aika episode that I was going to like it quite a bit more. And boy, this is a really great not necessarily addition to the character, but new side to the character, or a deeper explanation of the character, so to say. With her now being a branch manager for Himea, she's got a lot more on her plate, and also like she's reflecting a lot on her past and much like Alice, like her perceived inadequacies, but she has never really been referred to as a genius like Alice was. And so like this was covered a lot in the original series, but it's just sort of a recap of it here, and we get a new story of like the time when Aika first starts to interact with Akira on a consistent basis, where Aika's mother asks Akira to look after her and guide her as best she can, and the character conflicts that come from Aika and Akira butting heads constantly, as we see in the original series as well. And this one also definitely got pulled off. Could not have been pulled off as well without the stunning vocal performance of whoever played Akira. Finally, I have something good to say about voice acting for this series. I wish I had looked that up before I started doing this, but whoever plays Akira, the deep, sultry tones of her voice just this commanding presence really sells a lot of her lines. But also we get like I really liked the final resolution from Aika's character of why she doesn't want to inherit this legendary gondola that's been passed down through generations within the Himea company. And it's essentially just sort of like I'm not anyone special. I just happen to be the company president's daughter. I don't have any connection to this gondola, and so I don't want to inherit it. I don't want this gondola to be seen as like the symbol of Himea's future. I want to be seen as the symbol of Himea's future, which is a very bold but also very mature sort of stance to take. And I really, really liked that. This was that was a really solid conclusion, and I really liked the gondola chase stuff as not necessarily a retcon on Aika's Prima promotion, but like a add-on to it, like a sort of before. This is what transpired beforehand. This sort of like, I don't want to do just some regular old Prima exam. I want you to hit me with the best you got. And so we have this night-long chase of Aika having to chase Akira through the canals and steal a rose from her. Which was pretty fun. I will say the visuals of the gondola steering in that, the speed at which the gondola moved looked a little wacky at times. But that's honestly, that's one of the few visual complaints I have this time around. Like, there's still a little bit of that, a little bit of compositing issues, a little bit of that color design not quite working all the time, but I think they have a much stronger handle on the character designs this time. They're a little too angular with some of the facial features in some instances, but they really managed to hone in on how to make these character designs absolutely fucking beautiful. And they've sort of shied away from shots that are not conducive to making them look beautiful. So, good on them for that. I'm definitely looking back on it, you can definitely see a lot of the Amanchu influence in Aria in these later entries. Like, Amanchu being, if you're not unfamiliar, in 2016, which was the same year that Aria the Benedizione came out, Junichi Sato was also directing a adaptation of a manga called Amanchu, which was about scuba diving, and it might have been like my first, like, the first slice of life anime that I really, really liked. And it's the one that got me to pay attention to Junichi Sato. And if you look at the character designs in that, and you look at the character designs in the Benedizione, you can really see the influence there as compared to the original designs from, like, Aria the animation. The designs have come quite a long way, and they're definitely much more Amanchu influenced now than anything based on the original manga. Which isn't necessarily a bad thing or a good thing, it's just a thing. Because, like, the character designs before were never, like, stunningly beautiful, like they attempt to be now in a lot of instances, but they were still very solid character designs in their own right. So, yeah, that's my thoughts on the character design switch up. Yeah, this was just I am shocked by how much this recovered after my disappointment with the Crepuscolo. This was significantly better. I don't know if it's quite at the same level of the original yet. I would be willing to put it on par with some of the mid-level episodes of the first season, because I did almost tear up a little bit near the end of this. Mostly just because I was remembering the ending of Origination and like the stuff like Aika's Prima promotion moment in that. But you know what? It used the tools at its disposal and it used them effectively. If you're somehow just now only tuning into this part of my Aria series, yes, it is worth getting through Avenire and Crepuscolo to get to this. Assuming you don't hate either of those entries. But, yeah, I managed to pull it out in the end. I feel satisfied leaving Aria at this point. This feels like a great place to end it.
Alright. Aria the Benedizione is complete. Now, normally in a circumstance like this, I would just combine it with the other Aria movie because it's just two of essentially the same project from in the single year, but these two do not deserve to be grouped together. The quality gap is far too wide. So Benedizione's getting its own entry in the number 38 spot with a light 8. That is what's the gap on that one? 28, 52. That's almost a 25. No, I can't do math. No, that's correct. Yeah, that's almost a 25 or 25 entry gap between the two. Very, very wide gap in quality. So, yeah. The new Aria, or I guess the last Aria, is very good. Hey, big dumb idiot me completely missed the second Seitokai Yakuindomo movie, which definitely came out in 2021. I think I just got messed up because it was originally supposed to come out in 2020 and then COVID delayed it. And then I was just like, oh, January 1st, that probably means it was like a New Year's special, so it might have come out on December 31st. I wasn't looking clearly. Anyways, I'm a big SYD guy. I like my dirty jokes show. Let's wrap up this franchise.
Alright. That is the end of Seitokai Yakuindomo. I spent years pronouncing it Seitokai for some reason, just because I didn't... It was back before I learned how to pronounce the Romanized versions of Japanese words. But yes, the second Seitokai Yakuindomo movie was good. I will say I'll give 2 tips on how to watch. First, a tip on how to watch SYD in general. That's the abbreviation for this Seitokai Yakuindomo. Don't binge it. It's not bad when you binge it, but I will say, if you space it out more, the jokes hit a little harder. Because, like, the last time I had watched SYD was, like, years ago. Like, several presidential administrations ago was the last time I watched SYD. And I left off halfway through the OVA series the second set of OVA series. And so for this, I binged all of the stuff that I hadn't seen yet to get to this last piece of content. And it's still funny. The jokes still hit pretty dang solid. But the more I watched, the less I was like bursting out cackling, which was what I was doing when I started this binge. By the way, if you're not familiar with SYD, familiarize yourself, because this is a really good show. Very, very funny. It's just, well, it's not just, but its claim to fame is incredibly blunt sex jokes. Like, just fucking something, just, I can't come up with a generic SYD bit off the top of my head, but like, just something sex act out of nowhere. Like, discussing a sex act. There's no actual ecchi in this series at all, as far as I can remember. But there is a lot of talk about sex, because it's like, the premise of this is like an all-girls school that becomes a co-ed school. And if I recall correctly, the initial joke premise is like, oh, these ladies are not prim and proper at all, and they're constantly making sex jokes at each other. So, yes. I would definitely recommend this series overall. Would not recommend binging it. This is one that you want to just take your time with. Be like, oh, hey, I'll watch another episode of SYD today. And it will be very funny. Not that this wasn't very funny. I still really enjoyed the just sheer brashness of the sex jokes. And it's not just sex jokes. There's a lot of height jokes, with one of the characters being extremely short. There's a lot of just particular jokes about the different eccentricities of the different characters, with like Hata, the newspaper reporter, being extremely fucking shady. The teacher being a drunk girl failure of sorts. There is just so much about this that I really, really like. SYD was a very formative anime experience for me. I actually started watching it right around the time that I started writing, like, doing written anime reviews. Don't look for those, because I have hidden them, and they're probably terrible. But this was right around that time that I started doing that. Because I think, like, the second season came out in 2013, I think. Either 2013 or 2014. Maybe. Somewhere around there. Wait, hold on. Yeah, it would probably have been 2013. It had either, I remember watching it in no, actually, yeah, it would have been 2014. It would have been the winter of 2014, I think, when I started watching it. Because I think the second season had just come out, so I had binged the first season, and I really loved it back then. It's also a very weird series in terms of order. Like, so it's because a really large chunk of it is OVAs. So you got the first season, and then the first set of OVAs, then the second season, and then I really don't know where exactly, because there's a second set of OVAs, and it's basically like a whole season of content. Like, you got 10 episodes in the second set of OVAs, and the two movies fit in there somewhere. Because the first movie came out in 2017, which was about halfway through the OVA series, I believe. I don't think there's anything in particular that continuity-wise as to where that one fits, but the second movie, I believe, continuity-wise, comes out after the 8th episode of the second set of OVAs. So 2 episodes before the end of the OVA series. Because there's a bit with a mascot costume. And Episode 9 has 2 jokes revolving around that mascot costume where if you haven't seen the movie, you don't know where that comes from. It's hilarious in the fact that, like, where the fuck did this come from? But also, I think watching the movie beforehand would better inform you of that. But it's also weird because the movie didn't come out until 2021. It was supposed to come out in 2020, but it got pushed back because of COVID to 2021. But also that the second to last OVA episode came out in 2019, so it's still, but that still takes place after the movie. So if you're looking for a watch order, Season 1, first set of OVAs, Season 2, probably about the first 5 OVAs of Season 2 of the second set, then the first movie, then get up until you have 2 episodes left of the OVAs, then watch the second movie, and then watch the last 2 episodes. Because also I think the final episode of the OVA series has a much better, like, emotional ending than the film. Because there's also, like, this, like, it is mostly just a straight comedy, and there's not a lot of actual, like, romance in it, despite the massive amount of sex jokes, but there is a lot of yearning as the series goes on, particularly with Amakusa, the president of the student council, and Hagimura, the treasurer, both falling in love with Tsuda, the vice president of the student council, who's like one of the first boys to join the school after it becomes co-ed. And they go on a bunch of different adventures together, and he slowly gathers a pseudo harem of sorts. And I think, without spoiling anything, I think the final episode of the OVA series leaves off in a better place in that regard than the movie does. Because this is also, unfortunately, I think, incomplete. Because, like, the last OVA came out in 2020, and then the manga didn't end until late 2021. And even this movie came out, like, January 1st, 2021. So there was a whole other year of manga content until it ended. And unfortunately, we haven't gotten any SYD since then. So I might just have to read, like, the last few pages of the manga to see how it all wraps up. I'm not expecting a confirmed romance or anything, but I would definitely like to know how this all ends. Honestly, I don't even know what format this is in. Is it a 4-koma, or is it just a regular manga? How long are the chapters? I'm not sure. This seems like it would be a 4-koma, but I have never actually looked that up to confirm. So I guess I'll probably find that out at some point. But, yeah, I really enjoyed this. Oh, another thing. The first 25 minutes of this-ish are just episode 8 of the OVAs again, which again lends credence to, like, that's where it's supposed to go in terms of the order of the OVAs. Like, episode 8 of the second set of OVAs. I know this is very confusing. But, so, there will be some repeated content. If you want to just watch, I mean, I think it is just straight up the entirety of OVA Set 2, Episode 8. So you could probably just skip that episode and just watch the whole movie. I did notice that in terms of the fan subs that I was using, the movie's fan subs were notably better than the OVA fan subs. Even though they came from the same batch. I'm not sure if they were subbed by the same people. The fonts were different, so I assume they were different groups. But they came from the same batch. So there's that. Yeah, this was fun. I will say, though, this is a GoHands production. And if you're unfamiliar with GoHands, they, over the past decade, have not over the past decade, about a decade ago, they started to, they experimented with a a certain aesthetic, a la Handshakers, that is, to put it mildly, disorienting, vomit-inducing, really gross to look at. And over the years, that aesthetic has started to creep into SYD, and it becomes more and more pronounced. It is definitely very pronounced in the first movie, and it's still very pronounced in the second movie. Not quite as much, but like it is, like especially with the backgrounds and the color design for the backgrounds, it gets extremely garish at points. So it's not the most pleasant series to look at all the time, but I do still really like the character designs. Again, maybe it's just because the series was kind of formative for me, but I think all the character designs are really solid. The girls are very cute. It's not the most animated series, but that's not what you're here for. You're here for the gag comedy. And when they want to bust out some high quality stuff, they can. There was a bit with Hata at the very end of this movie that I don't want to spoil because it was just so fucking out of nowhere and just had me just staring at the screen like, what the fuck? What? So, good bit. Yeah, it feels weird to finally have SYD over after putting it on hold for like a decade and then finally coming back to it. But yeah, I'm happy I did this little rewind series to finally get back and wrap it all up. Again, I would definitely recommend ending with the last 2 episodes of the OVAs, though. But otherwise, yeah, I would still recommend SYD. This is still very fun.
Okay. Seitokai Yakuindomo movie 2 is complete. And we're going to go up and put you in the number 40 spot with a strong 7. Just barely on the edge of the strong 7s. But man, I still really like this series. It feels weird, but also good to finally reach the end. And with that, we are done with the catch-up for the year of 2021. 75 anime completed. Holy shit. That's a lot of fucking anime. By far the most that I've completed from a single year. Still only 110 out of the whole bunch. In fact, you know what? Let's... Although that does... yeah, that is right around the ideal favorites ratio. This is just something I do for myself just to see, but it's like, I like to think that the top 10% of the things that I finish are favorites, which means that anything that I score a 9 or higher, like a 9 or a 10. And I don't like do this on purpose. It's just kind of how it works out. And so you like 75, 8 out of 75 is like 10 point something percent. So yeah, that actually works out pretty well. Although I will say, Uma Musume is always, season 2, I always wonder whether I should make it a 9 or not. I'm probably going to watch it again at some point just because it's so damn good. But, and also maybe this one doesn't deserve to be a 9 anymore. Maybe, who knows. But in any case, let's take a look at the stats. I already got the stats done for this one. So, for winter, we had, no, hold on, it's 17 completed now, because I forgot to add in the SYD, but for an average of 6.59 for the score. Pretty fucking low. Mostly due to a lot of stuff down here, especially fucking Bean Bandit.
garbage, and the second season of Cells at Work was not very good. And no favorites from the winter season either. So that definitely contributed to it. Moving on, we have 18 completed for the spring for an average of 7.11. That tracks. Everything's pretty spread out for the spring season, much like it is for the summer season, with 16 completed for an average of 7.38, which is the highest average of the seasons. Probably mostly due to just a lot of 8s. Probably there's a lot of 8s from the summer season. And then fall, by far the most completed. Mostly due to how many from this particular video, I guess. But we got 24 completed for an average of 7.17. And fall was the only 10 that I scored for this year, which was Pompo the Cinephile, still one of my all-time favorite films. So that's for a average total at 6.88. That winter season really dragged it down, but you know what? Sometimes it'd be like that. And alright, and then for other statistics, for full series, I have 43 completed, so well over half the list. 19 movies, which is still a pretty decent chunk, and then 13 OVAs or ONAs. And then other mildly concerning statistic is new IPs. We had 33 versus repeat IPs, which were 42. Significantly more repeated IPs than new ones. A little bit concerning, but also this was a year for good sequels and such, like with the Shirobako movie, Nomad 2, the Last Heaven's Feel movie, Gintama. Just some good shit. Yeah, that's all I have for this video. I'm not sure when this is coming out. Probably around the end of May. So I don't think it'll be quite time for me to start on the spring seasonal wrap-ups yet, but who knows? Maybe there will be a lot of early finishes that I can knock out. But until we get there, my name is Ember, and I'll see you next time.